Welcome back, grade 11s and grade 12s. We are still within our environment section. We've had a look at our environmental scan and we've honed in on this slide. We have looked at, in the previous episodes, internal environment. We're looking at micro, but what have we covered so far? We've looked at the market and the macro environment. We've done a Porter's analysis, we've done a pestle analysis, and of course we've done a SWOT. Now what we're going to do is let us hone in on the value chain analysis and the resource-based analysis in your micro environments. So that's the SWOT, pestle. We've got the Porter's 6 forces that we've gone through. I'm just giving you a little bit of a recap. And we are now going to be looking at our micro environment and all those tools that you can use to come up with strategies or to add value. The first one is the value chain analysis. Now, in order to do the value chain analysis, you need to look at the business and have a look at what are the primary activities that this business has to do that are extremely important. And then you have a look at the secondary activities. And secondary is not less important, it's just as a support to all the primary activities that you're doing. So with Mr. Price, one of the primary activities is the inbound activities. And basically, inbound activities means the handling and management of the resources coming into the company from the suppliers. So it's the handling and management of all the fashion clothing stock that is coming in from overseas as well as local manufacture. That is a key primary activity. Just a little bit of current affairs. Mr. Price has got a huge distribution center in Hammersdal in KwaZulu-Natal, and that's a centralized distribution center. So everything goes there and then moves into all the stores from there. Right, now, your value chain analysis, you've identified what is the primary activity. We've said our inbound activities. All you need to do is now ask the question, how do we add value to our primary activity? What can we do that is more? What can we do that is different? How can we ensure that we are always looking at being more to our customers? So something that could happen, it's in red there, is vertical integration. Mr. Price could decide to buy one of its suppliers, buy them out, buy the manufacturer, ensure that they are now producing and cutting costs, and they are actually sewing up the clothing. So that is vertical integration. Another strategy or another idea is that they could have a highly mechanized warehouse. So they automate absolutely everything so that they ensure that they are cutting costs. They've already got a single center of operation, which I've said now is that distribution center, but it could be maybe even bigger. Maybe we need to include the house, the Mr. Price housing, the Mr. Price home elements into that distribution center so that we've actually got everything under one roof. You could also possibly look at going more green. That could be how do we add value? Is energy consumption within that huge factory? What are we going to do? How are we going to reduce our energy consumption? Another primary activity is, of course, our Mr. Price marketing activities. And they have the marketing activities where they're always wanting to have as low value as possible, very, very high trendy clothing. So really, really fashionable stuff at a very low price. And they only offer cash. They don't have a credit card. So what could we do to add value to our current marketing activities? How do we add value to that? Well, let's have a integrated social media campaign where we integrate with our traditional marketing as well as social media. Maybe we need a brand ambassador. Maybe we need to look at, the Springbok rugby team and get them involved in being our brand ambassadors. Let's have a look at a loyalty program. Maybe everybody has a special loyalty card. Look at what Checkers has got, that extra savings card. Maybe we do the same for Mr. Price. Another idea from a marketing point of view is, could we not have a used clothing donation program? Because it's quite, the fashion comes in and then it goes out. What do you do with all those fashionable little clothes, the crop tops that are now, and next season crop tops are not in anymore? What do we do with them? So maybe we have a used clothing donation program. Secondary activities in your value chain is procurement, is purchasing. And something that we're going to be doing is, how do we add value to our current procurement activity? Let's have a look at local manufacture. Let's really try and increase our local manufacture from 45.7% to 50% in 2024. We're really going to try and ensure that we uplift our country by opening up different points where local manufacture can take place. HR is also a secondary activity in Mr. Price. How do we add value to our current HR? Let's continue with our share schemes. Let's continue with training centers. Maybe we've got to bring in extra training centers. Maybe we've got to make it a Mr. Price school. Why don't we have a school? Why don't we have a matric option where people can actually do their matric through Mr. Price? So that is a value chain analysis. Step 1, primary activities. Step 2, secondary activities. Step 3, how do we add value to those activities we are currently having at the moment? To move into our next tool, which is our resource-based tool, I just pulled a little bit of a current affair, how mighty Shein is hurting that Foschini Group, Mr. Price, and others. And this was pulled from MoneyWeb, 18th of July. Shein is huge and they are hurting everybody. So how do you make desirable popular fashion available at ridiculously low prices? I mean, Shein is even cheaper than Mr. Price. How are they getting away with it? How are they doing it? And they're importing it in. So what Shein's also done is that they can send goods in small parcels with values of under 500 Rand. So that means you don't pay any of those tariffs and those duties. So, which is huge, because all a shopper's going to do is then spread their shop over 500 and under 500 Rand packages. And Shein, I think, is really, really going to hurt Mr. Price with regards to their low pricing. And the quality is not too shabby. The quality is not that bad. Okay. Now we go into our second tool for microenvironment, and that is our resource-based analysis. There are 5 steps to a resource-based analysis. And basically, you are looking at your resources. What do we have? Do we have a resource gap? What could we bring in? So I've got an example here of, we're going to be bringing in a trendy pop-up store or a fashion truck that once a month or once a year or every 6 months, we're going to be having this amazing trendy fashion truck or a pop-up store that is just got Mr. Price clothing, and it's certain styles and certain sizes. And we're going to go into rural areas and really try and help people out by bringing the clothing to them. The first step you've got to do is identify the resource gap. Is there a gap in the market? Is this something that we can do? Yes, I suppose it is something we can do. No one else is doing it. Let's identify step 2. What is the strategic value? How are we going to add value to our customers at the moment? Well, if you've got a fashion truck driving through to rural areas, that is going to add some value, because a lot of people do not have cars in the rural areas, or they just don't have the discretionary income to pay for transport. So now you're bringing in, and you could have a range of things where you're selling t-shirts and shorts and, really kind of easy peasy, low, cheap clothing through to these areas. The third question you've got to ask is, how do we utilize this resource better? How could we utilize our fashion truck or our pop-up store even better? Is there another way? Well, maybe we could take it through to events. special events. It could be Christmas markets. Whatever the case is, can we utilize it better? And you're going to then unpack, how do we utilize it better? Our pop-up store, should we have it looking like that picture over there where it's quite zhuzhy and you've got every week a new fashion trend coming in, or you're selling vintage Mr. Price clothing, so it's quite unique and quite classic. The fourth step to your resource-based analysis is we're going to ask ourselves, does this give us a sustainable competitive advantage? Will this bring about a return on our investment? Can we sustain this? And then, once you've answered all those questions, you will then put together a strategy. So that is how you do a resource-based analysis for Mr. Price. We will see you in the next recording. Have a wonderful day.